Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we wrestle with just enormous amounts of source material. Today, it's decades of Fallout lore, sprawling, often ridiculous, sometimes genuinely horrifying stuff.
Yeah, and we've tried to boil it all down, distill it into the most, well, explosive insights. We've been digging through old terminal entries, deep community discussions, developer notes,
Yeah,
you name it.
exactly. The goal is basically to give you the ultimate shortcut, a way to get instantly up to speed on some of the weirdest corners of the Wasteland. We've got a lot to cover.
We really do. This is going to be rapid fire, pretty detailed. We're aiming for those bizarre and brilliant nuggets that really define the world, before and after the bombs fell.
No surface level stuff today. We're talking hyper-specific details, the kind that show you just how cynical and, frankly, absurd the whole Fallout setting is at its core.
Everything from, talking mole rats with world domination plans to massive corporate fraud that spans the globe. It's quite a mix.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it covers all the main games. We want to try and connect these seemingly random facts, show how they paint this picture of a world that was, well, broken long before the actual Fallout.
It's going to be fast, but hopefully every point gives you something to chew on.
Definitely. Okay, let's unpack this, starting right now.
Okay.
All right, so let's start at the beginning, or maybe the foundation of the failure. Pre-war America. That whole 1950s optimism plastered over something deeply rotten.
Exactly. And our first fact actually ties the whole continental U.S. timeline together in a way. It links the East Coast and the West Coast, centuries apart.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do we got?
Fact 1, Mr. House's secret alma mater. So Robert Edwin House, the big boss of New Vegas, right? Lives forever, super genius technocrat.
Yeah, the man who saved Vegas. What about him?
Well, he didn't just appear out of nowhere. His education is key. Turns out he attended the Commonwealth Institute of Technology.
CIT.
CIT, wait a minute, that's the Institute, isn't it? From Fallout 4, the pre-war name. Bingo. The very same shadowy, synth-building, ethically flexible organization that becomes a major player on the East Coast.
Wow. Okay, so the guy who basically becomes the ultimate survivor preservationist on the West Coast went to the same school that later creates the ultimate infiltrator replacers on the East Coast?
Precisely. It connects these two massive figures and factions right back to the pre-war scientific elite. It suggests this shared lineage. This ruthless, hyper-intelligent, maybe arrogant scientific culture was already there.
So CIT produced both House, the guy who walled himself off to save his city, and the Institute, the faction that wants to replace everyone from the shadows.
Yeah, it implies that this belief in, superior technological solutions, maybe detached from common morality, was driving both, even separated by thousands of miles and centuries. It's a fascinating link.
It really says a dark tone, doesn't it? Genius tech married to massive moral blind spots. Speaking of which, let's dive into Vault-Tech's unique brand of cynicism. Fact 2, Vault-Tech's horrific curriculum.
Oh, this is properly chilling. Vault-Tech University, over in Morgantown, Appalachia. They actually offered a course, an advanced course.
Let me guess, something deeply unethical.
You could say that. It was titled Survival Through Cannibalism. And no, it wasn't a joke course. It had a catalog number, VTU-HWB 410.
Survival Through Cannibalism 101. Vault-Tech, seriously.
Yeah.
What they even teach?
Get this. The syllabus covered moral ramifications, sure, but also practical stuff, like corpse consumption safety.
Oh, God. Safety tips.
It gets worse. Advanced lessons on, and I quote, how to make delicious side dishes using only hair and toenails.
No, really, hair and toenails. Why?
As to achieve LAFS status survival objectives. LAFFS stands for lack of all food and food-like sources.
Lack of all food. So this was their endgame planning, when literally everything else runs out.
Exactly. It proves their experiments weren't just psychological games. They were actively writing lesson plans for the absolute most disturbing final stage survival scenarios. They were teaching people how to systematically dehumanize themselves and others. Just keep the experiment going.
That's beyond cynical. It's institutionalized atrocity prep.
Right.
Okay, shifting gears slightly from cannibalism to capitalism, let's talk Nuka-Cola. Fact 3. The Nuka-Cola phenomenon.
Right, Nuka-Cola. It's everywhere in the Wasteland, right? The caps, the machines, the branding. It defines the post-war economy in many ways.
Absolutely, bottle caps are king.
But here's the crazy thing. That entire cultural dominance, it happened incredibly fast. The company launched in 2044. The Great War was 2077, so just 33 years.
33 years from launch to becoming this inescapable cultural icon. That's intense.
It really is. It perfectly captures that hyper-accelerated, maybe slightly unhinged corporate growth of pre-war America. They went from zero to having dedicated theme parks like Nuka World.
Nuka World, yeah.
Yeah.
And did they even weaponize the brand with the robots?
Yeah, they did. The Nuka robots in the Galactic Zone, they literally turned mascots into killing machines. It's peak Fallout.
And what about the founder? Wasn't there some weird rumor about his head?
Ah, yes, John Caleb Bradburton. The persistent rumor is that he had his head cryogenically preserved, kept alive in a jar somewhere in Nuka World.
Which is totally a nod to the Walt Disney urban legend.
Almost certainly. It fits that slightly ghoulish corporate folklore vibe perfectly.
And they had competitors too, didn't they? It wasn't just Nuka-Cola.
Oh, definitely. Sunset Sarsaparilla was huge, especially out west in the Mojave. Arguably more popular than Nuka-Cola there, based on what we see in New Vegas.
Right, the star bottle caps quest.
Exactly. Then you had smaller ones like Ball's Guarana. That was a real-world drink that had a licensing deal with Interplay back in the day, so its canon status is a bit fuzzy sometimes.
Okay.
And Vim, that was the local soda up in Far Harbor, Maine. It actually managed to completely replace Nuka-Cola as the favorite drink on that island. Shows regional taste still mattered.
Interesting. So this hypercapitalism wasn't just monolithic, but it was built on shaky ground, apparently. Which brings us to fact 4, the mass fusion scam.
Ah, Mass Fusion, the big energy company in the Commonwealth. You see their building dominating the Boston skyline in Fallout 4.
Yeah, and the name implies fusion power, clean, limitless energy.
That's what they wanted everyone to think. But it was a lie, a massive scam. For years, they were branding their regular, dirty fission reactors as advanced fusion power.
Seriously, they just lied about the fundamental technology.
Systematically and
All right.
criminally. We find out through terminals and notes that they were using a front company, Wicked Shipping, to illegally dump tons of nuclear waste.
Where? Not just anywhere, surely.
Right into Lake Quannapoit, a public lake. This caused widespread radiation sickness among the locals, contaminated the water. They even had to cancel a big fishing derby because of it.
The arrogance is stunning, poisoning the public while pretending to save the world with clean energy.
And here's the kicker, the real gut punch. They did eventually achieve genuine, large-scale fusion power, the kind that could have actually helped, using that beryllium agitator you fight over in Fallout 4.
Okay, so they finally cracked it when?
On October 23rd, 2077.
Wait, that's the day the bombs fell, the day of the Great War.
The exact day. Decades of fraud, decades of poisoning people, and the breakthrough comes literally hours before the entire world ends.
That's almost poetic in its awfulness. A perfect Fallout tragedy. Scientific progress arriving just in time to be utterly pointless.
It sums up the era, doesn't it? Greed and corruption ensuring that even salvation arrives too late.
And speaking of corruption reaching the top, let's look at the government itself. Fact 5. The darker side of pre-war U.S. governance. We know about the bad stuff, like annexing Canada, the internment camps, but this is more specific.
Yeah, it gets into the political weeds. So the pre-war U.S. president, he was actually impeached.
Impeached for what? Wasting resources on golf courses?
Close. The technical charge listed was jaywalking.
Jaywalking. They impeached the president for jaywalking. That's absurd.
It is. But the widely accepted theory, based on context, is that the real reason was political. He apparently opposed the forced annexation of Canada, and this was how his opponents removed him.
So they used a completely trivial offense as a pretext for a massive geopolitical power play.
Yeah.
That sounds disturbingly familiar, actually.
It paints a picture of a legal system completely weaponized, totally detached from justice or reality. Law just became another tool for political maneuvering.
And this climate allowed for other horrors too, right? Like the internment camps.
Absolutely. Extreme xenophobia was rampant. Chinese Americans were rounded up, put into camps. And we have terminal entries confirming that some of these internees were shipped off to places like the big MT research facility.
Yeah, experimentation. Oh, God.
Yeah. Horrific stuff. It's this weird contrast, though. On one hand, you have this advanced, often terrifying science. On the other, cultural stagnation. Well, the American Comics Code. That thing that sanitized comics in our world for decades. In the Fallout universe, it seems like it never really went away. Its influence is still visible even in post-war comics like The Unstoppables.
So hover cars and laser guns. But the comics are still stuck in this super rigid, kind of paranoid 1950s morality.
Pretty much. The culture got trapped, even as the technology raced ahead into dystopia.
Okay, one last pre-war point for this section. Let's put a price tag on all that advanced tech. Fact 6. the Enclave's financial protection.
Right. This gives you a sense of the value placed on high-end military gear. We're talking about the Enclave, the remnants of the U.S. government with all the best toys.
Specifically, their power armor. The really advanced stuff, like the Mark II.
Exactly. If an Enclave soldier lost or severely damaged a suit of that Mark II powered combat armor, the cost to replace it was astronomical. How long do you think they'd have to work to pay it off?
I don't know. A few years' salary. 10 years.
Try approximately 490 years.
490. Just to pay off one suit of armor.
Yep. Nearly 5 centuries of labor. It just hammers home how immensely valuable, almost priceless, this pre-war technology was considered, especially to the Enclave.
It wasn't just equipment. It was like a sacred relic of the old world. More valuable than any soldier inside it.
Absolutely. Their priority was preserving the tech, the symbol of their perceived superiority, above all else. Human cost was secondary.
Okay, so we've seen the pre-war world was a mess of corporate greed, government corruption, and questionable university courses. Now let's look at what crawled out of the ashes. The biological side of things. Mutants, monsters.
And the lovely little virus behind so much of it, FEV. Let's start with the big one, the apex predator of the Wasteland. Fact 7. Deathclaws are military bioweapons.
Right, Deathclaws. Everyone assumes they're just like giant lizards mutated by radiation. Yeah.
That's the common misconception. But nope, they are not natural mutations. They were deliberately genetically engineered by the pre-war U.S. military.
Engineered. From what?
Jackson chameleons, believe it or not.
Chameleons. They turned chameleons into that.
As biological weapons. The goal was to create terrifying, effective killing machines to deploy against China during the resource wars. So every Deathclaw you fight, it's a purpose-built weapon system.
Changes things. You're not fighting nature gone wild. You're fighting obsolete military hardware that happens to be alive. And wasn't there something about them being intelligent originally?
Yes, especially important for fans of the classic games Fallout 1 and 2. In those games, there were canonically intelligent Deathclaws. They could speak, reason.
Like Gorus, the companion.
Exactly like Gorus. They were part of the Master's experiments with the Forced Evolutionary Virus, FEV. He was trying to refine these bioweapons, maybe integrate them into his Unity. It shows the potential the original FEV had before it mostly just resulted in, well, rage and muscles.
Which brings us neatly to FEV itself. Fact 8, the Forced Evolutionary Virus, FEV overdose theory.
Right, FEV. The irony is, its original purpose was actually kind of noble. It was designed to make humans immune to radiation sickness.
Yeah.
You know, solve the whole impending nuclear holocaust problem.
So it worked. Did it make people immune?
It did, but with side effects. Massive, horrific mutation into supermutants. Loss of memory, personality changes, sterility, the works.
Not exactly an ideal cure, that.
Not quite.
Okay.
But the key insight here for understanding the wider Wasteland is this concept of the FEV overdose part of the process that creates supermutants. This detail lends a lot of weight to a popular and pretty well-supported theory.
Which is?
That low-level FEV exposure is now basically pervasive across the entire West Coast Wasteland, maybe even beyond. It's in the water, the air, the soil, trace amounts everywhere.
And why is that significant?
Because it explains so much. It explains why the Enclave, in their airtight bases, refer to all surface dwellers, even regular humans, as muties. From their pure perspective, everyone outside is slightly mutated by this background FEV contamination.
Ah, okay. So it's not just an insult. It's their twisted, technically accurate biological assessment.
Pretty much. And it also helps explain the sheer scale and speed of mutation in other creatures. Giant red scorpions, two-headed cows. FEV fundamentally altered the biological baseline of the whole post-war world.
Wow. So in a horrible way, the Enclave's whole purification agenda has this warped logic behind it. Everyone else is technically a mutant.
A horrifying thought, isn't it? Now let's zoom in on a specific, rather gruesome consequence of FEV for supermutants. Fact 9, the supermutant lip straps.
Lip straps, you mean those leather things
Yeah.
you see on their faces in Fallout 3 in New Vegas? I always thought they were just like armor or decoration.
Nope, they're functional, necessary even. The sources confirm it's a direct side effect of the FEV mutation process.
What does it do?
It causes the muscles in the upper lip to go completely limp, saggy, useless.
Okay.
So without those straps physically holding the lip up, they wouldn't be able to speak properly. The lip would just hang there, obstructing airflow and making clear articulation impossible. It might even affect their breathing.
Oh, wow. So those straps aren't just cosmetic. They're basically a required medical device just for them to talk and breathe normally.
Exactly. It's a really subtle, grim detail about the constant physical toll of their mutation. They need perpetual intervention just to function.
That adds a whole new layer of unpleasantness to their existence.
No.
Right, okay, let's pivot to something slightly more absurd, maybe. Still involving brains, though. Fact 10. Skynet. The dictionary-loving robo-brain.
Ah, Skynet, the robo-brain companion from Fallout 2. Not just any abandoned robot, mind you.
What's special about Skynet, besides the slightly ominous name?
Well, first, it wasn't abandoned during the war. Its creators ditched it a full 40 years after the Great War, around 2120.
40 years later, why?
Who knows? Maybe budget cuts. But the really fun stuff is its personality. It developed, quirks. Apparently, its brain center is deeply stimulated by having the dictionary read to him.
It likes listening to dictionary definitions.
Yeah.
Specific.
Just imagine sitting there, reading Webster's to a brain in a jar on treads. But the real deep cut here is the customization.
Customization, how?
You can find a cybernetic chimpanzee brain elsewhere in the game. And you can choose to swap Skynet's default processor with this chimp brain.
You can give your robo-brain companion a monkey brain. What happens?
Chaos. You essentially get a talking monkey brain as a companion. The personality completely changes, becomes much more erratic, animalistic, and frankly, hilarious. It's pure, classic Fallout weirdness.
A talking monkey brain companion. Okay, that's pretty out there, but maybe not as out there as our next point. Fact 11. The leader of Gecko.
Oh, Gecko, the ghoul settlement from Fallout 2. Powered by a malfunctioning nuclear reactor full of friendly ghouls.
Sounds charming. Who's the leader? Some grizzled ghoul mayor.
Not quite. The leader of Gecko is a talking mole rat.
Sorry, a talking mole rat.
Named Brain. A highly intelligent talking mole rat named Brain, and his ultimate goal.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Cheese. World peace.
World domination.
Of course it is. A talking mole rat named Brain wants to take over the world. Why am I not surprised?
It's part of that whole weird corner of Fallout 2 lore that also includes the Wanamingos, those strange, possibly alien creatures. It just shows how the early games fully embraced the absurdity alongside the grimness. A dictatorial rodent running a town of irradiated humans, sure, why not?
The Wasteland contains multitudes, apparently. Including intelligent rodents? What else? Fact 12. The existence of intelligent giant centipedes.
Yeah, sticking with the theme of unexpectedly smart critters, the lore actually confirms there's a species of giant, mutated centipedes.
Giant centipedes. Okay, standard Wasteland horror.
That are intelligent enough to understand human sign language.
They understand sign language. Giant centipedes. Are you serious?
Dead serious. It's a confirmed piece of lore. We always focus on the big, dramatic mutants like Deathclaws and super mutants, right?
Naturally. They're the ones trying to kill you most often.
But this implies a whole other layer of bizarre, developed intelligence out there. Imagine encountering a patrol of giant centipedes communicating tactics with complex antenna gestures or something.
I'd rather not, thanks. But it does show the FEV, or just radiation or whatever, didn't just make things bigger and angrier. It made things weirder in ways we barely grasp.
Exactly. The Wasteland is not just dangerous, it's profoundly strange.
All right, let's head south, metaphorically speaking, into the Mojave Wasteland.
New Vegas territory. This game is renowned for its deep character lore and some pretty obscure gameplay mechanics.
And where better to start than with the man in charge of the Legion? Fact 13. Caesar's origins and hidden identity.
Caesar! Leader of the Legion, crucifixion enthusiast, aspired to be the new Genghis Khan by way of ancient Rome. Ruthless guy.
Understatement of the century. What's the secret? He wasn't really Roman.
Well, obviously. But his original identity is the kicker.
Yeah.
His birth name was Edward Sallow. And before he became Caesar, he was a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse.
Wait, the followers? The humanitarians? The doctors and scholars trying to help people? That guy founded the Legion.
The very same. He was a researcher and anthropologist sent out to study tribal languages. Then things went sideways. Captured, integrated, eventually took over.
That's quite the career change. From humanitarian scholar to brutal slave-driving dictator. How does the game even frame that?
It's presented as this core tragedy, or maybe warning. How someone intelligent, with initially good intentions perhaps, can be twisted by the harsh realities and his own ideology into becoming a monster. The source material explicitly draws parallels to real-world figures, mentioning people like Joseph Mengele, highly educated individuals who committed atrocities.
So Sal's journey is meant to show how easily ideals can curdle under pressure. His desire for order became absolute tyranny.
Precisely. He believed the only way to save humanity from chaos was through this brutal, uncompromising system he created. It's one of the most compelling backstories in the series.
Definitely chilling. Okay, now for something much, much sillier involving Caesar. Fact 14, reverse pickpocketing Caesar.
Ah, yes, a classic bit of New Vegas mischief. It is, in fact, possible to humiliate the mighty Caesar in a very specific way.
Go on.
You can sneak into his tent while he's indisposed after your initial meeting, and you can reverse pickpocket him.
Meaning you plant something on him instead of stealing. What do you plant?
An NCR uniform, or any piece of NCR armor, really.
His sworn enemies. You can make Caesar wear NCR gear. How?
It relies on a quirk of the game's NPC inventory system. You need to give him armor or clothing that has a higher damage threshold or DT stat than whatever he's currently wearing his fancy Caesar robes.
Okay, so you give him better armor that happens to be enemy colors.
Right.
Then what?
Then you wait. You have to leave the area and wait for 3 full in-game days. The game's logic will eventually make him equip the better armor you gave him.
So after 3 days, you can potentially walk back in and find Caesar strutting around in NCR Ranger armor.
Potentially, yes. It's the ultimate silent insult, a fantastic little gameplay exploit for maximum disrespect.
I love it. Pure Fallout. Okay, sticking with the NCR for a moment, but more seriously. Fact 15. The secret life of veteran Rangers.
Right, the NCR Veteran Rangers. Coolest armor in the game, arguably. Elite soldiers.
Iconic. What's the secret?
It's about where you find them, specifically in highly irradiated areas. Think around Camp Searchlight, where the Legion set off that dirty bomb. If you look closely, a lot of the Veteran Rangers stationed there are ghouls.
Ghouls, wearing the Vet Ranger armor. Why?
Radiation resistance. Ghouls are immune or highly resistant to radiation. So, in a strategically important but dangerously irradiated zone like Searchlight, it makes perfect tactical sense for the NCR to deploy their ghoul personnel there.
So it's not just random, it's deliberate environmental storytelling.
Exactly. It subtly tells you about the history of the Desert Rangers, the group that merged with the NCR. It suggests they were practical, likely recruiting ghouls for a long time because of their unique advantages in the Wasteland environment. It adds this layer of history and pragmatism to the faction.
That's brilliant. Shows how they adapted using whoever or whatever was best suited for the job, regardless of, well, skin condition.
Precisely. Non-discriminatory warfare based on biological utility. Now, let's talk companion stats, which can be surprising. Fact 16. Companion intelligence and dislikes.
Companions in New Vegas are great. Boone, the sniper, is a fan favorite. Super deadly.
Incredibly effective. But, mechanically speaking, his intelligence stat is actually one of the lowest among all the human companions. It's only higher than Rex, the cyberdog.
Really? Boone's not that bright stat-wise.
Nope. Fits his character though, right? Man of action, haunted past, not really an intellectual.
Makes sense. Who's on the other end? Arcade Gannon, the follower's doctor.
Arcade is smart, yeah. But here's the interesting thing about him mechanically. He is the only companion in the entire game who has explicit dislike points tied to general player actions.
Dislike points, meaning he can just quit if he doesn't like you.
Yes. Outside of the major decisions in his personal quest, if you consistently act in ways he finds morally repugnant, like being excessively cruel, or too supportive of the Legion or NCR imperialism, he will accumulate these dislike points, enough of them, and he'll just tell you he can't travel with you anymore and leave, permanently.
Wow. So he's the only one with that general moral compass check. Others might disapprove, but won't just walk out on you for everyday awfulness.
Pretty much. It really reinforces his character as someone with strong ethical convictions rooted in the follower's ideology. You have to actively, consistently offend his principles to lose him.
Good to know. Gotta be nice around the sarcastic doctor. Okay, let's zoom out. What about the source of, well, a lot of the weirdness in the Southwest? Fact 17, Big MT's global reach.
Big MT, the Big MT, the setting for the Old World Blues DLC, home of the Sink, the Think Tank, Mobius, just wall-to-wall weird science.
That place was bonkers.
Yeah.
Sentient appliances, brains in jars arguing.
Exactly. But its influence stretches far beyond the crater it sits in. Big MT is actually the cause of several other major environmental disasters seen in other New Vegas DLCs.
Really? Like what?
Remember the deadly, toxic red cloud hanging over the Sierra Madre Casino in Dead Money?
Unforgettable. Nasty stuff.
That was created by Big MT experiments. And the crazy permanent sandstorm raging through the Divide and Lonesome Road?
Yeah, the one Ulysses talks about.
Also Big MT's fault. specifically a malfunctioning weather control machine they built and tested there.
So this one isolated research crater is indirectly responsible for the hazards in 2 other entire DLC areas. Their incompetence had range.
Incredible range.
Yeah.
They were the bleeding edge of pre-war tech, capable of reality-bending science. And yet,
Yeah, what?
the think tank, those brilliant floating brains in jars, they canonically believe the Earth is flat.
You're kidding. They have teleportation tech and they're flat earthers.
There's literally a line of dialogue where one of them panics and yells, "You're making us look like a bunch of round earthers!" Their scientific genius existed alongside utter, baffling ignorance about basic cosmology. Perfect fallout.
Isolation really does a number on you, I guess, even if you're a brain in a jar. Okay, finally for this section, let's tackle a big one. A persistent myth. Fact 18. Debunking the Vault Boy thumbs up hoax.
Right. This needs to be stated clearly and unequivocally. You know the theory, the one about Vault Boy thumbs up.
Oh yeah, everyone's heard it, that it's not cheerful, it's a practical tool. You hold up your thumb to a mushroom cloud.
And if the cloud is bigger than your thumb, you're in the radiation zone and need to run. If it's smaller, you're supposedly safe.
Sounds plausible, grimly practical, very Fallout. Is it true?
Absolutely not. It is 100% false. A complete fabrication.
How do we know for sure?
Several reasons. First, the actual creators, Brian Fargo, who conceptualized Fallout, and Tremel Ray Isaac, the artist who designed Vault Boy, have both explicitly confirmed it. They said the thumbs up is just meant to convey a positive, can-do, slightly naive, retro attitude. That's it.
Okay, creator intent is pretty definitive.
Second, actual nuclear safety experts have confirmed the rule of thumb measurement is completely useless and nonsensical for determining fallout range or safety. It has no basis in reality.
So where did this idea even come from? It feels like it's been around forever.
That's the fascinating part. It hasn't. It's actually quite recent. The hoax itself seems to have originated on Reddit around October 2013. Someone suggested it, it sounded cool and dark, and it just spread like wildfire.
So it's a modern fan theory that got mistaken for original lore.
Exactly. It's an urban legend born from the fan base, not in the game's creation. Which, in a way, is kind of meta commentary on how readily we accept grim, paranoid explanations in the Fallout universe. But yeah, the thumbs up is just a thumbs up.
All right, we've covered tech, mutants, politics. Now let's get properly weird. Because Fallout isn't just sci-fi, is it? There's a whole layer of other stuff, supernatural stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The games deliberately weave in elements of cosmic horror, ghosts, curses, forcing the post-apocalyptic science fiction setting to coexist with the genuinely inexplicable. Let's start with the big guns. Fact 19, the Lovecraftian old gods.
You mean like Cthulhu-type entities? Are they actually canon?
There's very substantial, quite deliberate evidence pointing that way. It's not just hinted at, it's baked into certain locations and quests.
Like where?
The most obvious example is the Dunwich Company. You encounter their legacy in both Fallout 3, the Dunwich Building, and Fallout 4, Dunwich Borer's Mine.
Yeah, these places are creepy as hell. What's the story?
Through terminals, notes, and environmental storytelling, you piece together that the Dunwich executives were part of a cult. They worshipped some ancient entity, practiced human sacrifice, and were drawn to this mysterious underground obelisk they excavated.
An obelisk. That sounds very Lovecraftian. Anything else?
Definitely. In the Fallout 3 DLC, Point Lookout, the main conflict involves the local swamp folk. And who do they worship? A mysterious being they call Ugg-Qualta.
Ugg-Qualta. That sounds ripped straight from the Necronomicon.
Pretty much. These aren't subtle nods, they're confirmations that ancient, powerful, possibly extra-dimensional beings exist within the Fallout universe. The nuclear war didn't just break civilization, it seems to have weakened the veil between realities, perhaps.
That's a chilling thought. Does this continue in later games? Like 76?
It does, and perhaps even more explicitly. Which leads to Fact 20, the Interloper and the Cults of Appalachia.
Appalachia has the Mothman cult, right? That's weird, but maybe more cryptid than cosmic horror.
Well, there's the main Mothman cult, yes. But there was an offshoot group, a splinter faction that felt called, specifically to the Lucky Hole Mine.
Okay, a creepy mine. What did they find down there?
Deep inside, this cult started worshiping something else, something they called the Interloper.
The Interloper, what was it?
Based on the notes and terminal entries left behind by the cultists, it's described as a powerful, supernatural, telepathic being, something beyond the realm of human comprehension. It communicates directly into their minds, driving them mad.
Telepathic. Incomprehensible.
Yeah, that ticks all the Lovecraft boxes. So, active psychic gods influencing people in the Wasteland? Great.
It really hammers home that the threats aren't just radioactive monsters and raiders. There are older, stranger things stirring.
And it's not just huge cosmic entities either, is it? What about smaller scale spookiness? Fact 21, ghosts are canon.
Yep, good old-fashioned ghosts. Specters, spirits, hauntings. They've been officially part of Fallout lore since the very beginning, or close to it.
Since when? Fallout 1.
Fallout 2, specifically. There's a whole quest in that game that revolves around helping a ghost find peace. You have to find their lost locket, return it to their spirit, and then properly bury their physical remains.
A full-on ghost quest. So spiritual phenomena, souls, the afterlife. That's all confirmed as real within the game's universe. Seems so. It establishes that reality includes a spiritual dimension. And we see echoes of it later, too.
Like the Dunwich building again, you hear things there, right?
Exactly. In Fallout 3's Dunwich building, you can clearly hear footsteps following you sometimes, even when there's absolutely no one there. Classic haunting.
Creepy. Any other examples?
A more subtle one is in New Vegas.
Yeah.
If you go to the Good Spring Cemetery at night, the starting town,
Right.
listen closely. The ambient audio includes faint, distinct whispers.
Whispers on the wind in the graveyard.
It all adds up. Ghosts, hauntings, spirits. They're not just rumors or myths in Fallout. They're documented phenomena. The supernatural is woven into the fabric of the world.
Okay, so we have cosmic gods and regular ghosts. What about curses?
Yeah.
Or just really, really bad luck?
Funny you should ask. That brings us to fact 22, the pariah dog.
The pariah dog sounds ominous. It's a hellhound.
Not quite that dramatic, but possibly more annoying. It's a specific, unique dog NPC you can encounter randomly in the earlier games, particularly Fallout 2. It's not a potential companion you recruit, it just latches onto you.
Like a stray. What does it do?
It curses you. Having the pariah dog with you gives the player character a constant, significant penalty to their luck stat. It's literally a walking bad luck charm.
So it makes bad things happen more often. That's rough. Does it at least help in fights?
Nope. It runs away from combat.
Always.
It's completely useless as a fighter. And to make matters worse, it has an absurd amount of health, something like 700 HP.
700. For a dog that doesn't fight and gives you bad luck, why so much health?
Probably just to make it incredibly difficult to get rid of, because here's the final infuriating twist. Once the pariah dog decides it's tagging along, you cannot dismiss it. There's no dialogue option to tell it to leave.
You're stuck with it. An unkillable, cowardly bad luck magnet you can't get rid of.
Pretty much, it's this inescapable source of misfortune that follows you around until you somehow manage to kill it, which is a feat in itself given its HP and tendency to flee. It's like an anti-companion designed purely to troll the player.
That's diabolical game design. Okay, let's end this strange section with a couple of quick hits. Culture and travel. Fact 23. Anime and cross-continental travel.
Right, two slightly random but canonical facts. First, anime exists post-war.
Anime. Like Japanese animation, how do we know?
Again, back to Fallout 2. There are NPCs, specifically some prostitutes in New Reno, who happen to be wearing power armor, don't ask.
Power armor prostitutes. Okay, Fallout 2.
Right, and they have dialogue where they mention seeing power armor before in an anime video they saw once.
Oh, that's amazing. So pre-war anime tapes or discs survived, and people are still watching them. Post-apocalyptic otaku?
Seems like it. It confirms that piece of global culture persisted somehow. And speaking of global,
Cross-continental travel, is that possible after the bombs?
it is. We have definitive proof thanks to one specific character in Fallout 3, Alistair Tenpenny.
Tenpenny. The rich old guy living in the big tower, hating ghouls.
That's the one. His backstory, confirmed in dialogue and notes, is that he arrived in the capital Wasteland from the United Kingdom.
From the UK, all the way across the Atlantic, post-war. How?
The game doesn't specify how, but presumably by ship or boat of some kind. The important point is, he did it. It establishes that long-distance, overseas travel is feasible, if likely very dangerous and difficult. The world isn't entirely fractured into isolated pockets.
That's a pretty significant piece of world building, actually. Opens up possibilities. Okay, let's bring it back to the Commonwealth in Fallout 4. This game is heavy on paranoia, hidden mechanics, and companions with secrets. Where do we start?
Let's start with the Master of Secrets himself. Fact 24, Deacon was always watching.
Deacon, the railroad spy guy, loves his disguises. What about him?
He wasn't just watching you from afar before you officially met him. He was right there. You can actually spot him in disguise in several key locations early in the game, long before you get to the railroad HQ.
Really? Where?
For example, the first time you enter Good Neighbor, He's there, disguised as a generic citizen just wandering around. When you first arrive at Diamond City and Piper is arguing with the mayor, Deacon's there, dressed as a Diamond City security guard.
No way. I totally missed that. He's even in random encounters, right?
Yep, sometimes disguised as a drifter or caravan guard, but the real proof of how early he was onto you. There's a specific railroad symbol, one of their coded markings, painted on a little shack just outside Sanctuary Hills, your starting base.
Outside Sanctuary. So he was scouting the sole survivor almost from the moment they left Vault 111.
That's the implication. The railroad, or at least Deacon, had eyes on you right from the very beginning. It shows the incredible depth of their intelligence network and maybe their paranoia.
Speaking of surveillance and paranoia, Fact 25. The Institute informants. The Institute had its own network, didn't they?
Oh yeah, a big one. Managed by the SRB, the Synth Retention Bureau. Their job was tracking escaped synths, but also running human informants across the Commonwealth.
And we know who they were.
We find a list on a terminal deep inside the Institute's SRB section. It names several seemingly random NPCs you meet out in the world.
Like who? Any familiar names?
Definitely. People like Cricket, the traveling weapons merchant, Tommy Lonigan from the Combat Zone, Doc Weathers, another traveling doctor, even Trashcan Carla, the merchant you meet right near Sanctuary.
Trashcan Carla. She's an Institute informant. I buy junk from her all the time.
Well, here's the scary part. Are they knowingly informants? The game leaves it ambiguous. The prevailing theory, based on other clues, is that many of them might not even realize who they're talking to.
How does that work?
The Institute uses synths, remember? They could have synth agents disguised as regular traders or settlers, just casually gathering intel from these people without them ever knowing they're talking to the enemy.
Or
the Institute sometimes replaces key people entirely with synth infiltrators. This fuels the huge fan theories about certain friendly faces.
like Sturgis, the handyman in Sanctuary. Or Magnolia, the singer in Good Neighbor. People think they might be synths.
It's a major theory, yeah. There's circumstantial evidence, like Sturgis having high-level technical knowledge seemingly out of nowhere. The game deliberately plants these seeds of doubt. You start to wonder if anyone can be trusted. It's brilliant, really.
Deeply unsettling, too. Okay, let's talk about companions and consequences. Morality stuff. Fact 26. Companion chem and spouse reactions.
Right, Fallout 4's companions react to your actions, but some reactions are pretty specific and dark. Take Kate, for example.
A cage fighter with chem addiction.
Exactly. When you first recruit her, she actually approves if you use chems yourself. Misery loves company, I guess.
Makes sense. But she has that personal quest, right, to get clean.
She does. And if you help her complete it, cure her addiction at Vault 95. Her attitude completely flips. From that point on, she will dislike it whenever you use chems. It directly reflects her character development.
That's a nice touch. What about darker consequences?
Oh, Mama Murphy, the psychic granny in Sanctuary.
Right, she asks for chems to give you visions of the future.
She does, but there's a limit. If you keep giving her chems, the community generally agrees it's about 5 doses, often jet or psycho, though it might vary.
What happens after 5 doses?
She overdoses and dies permanently.
Seriously? You can accidentally kill her just by trying to get hints from her.
Yep. It can happen fairly early in the game, too. It forces this grim choice. Risk killing a key character for a few cryptic clues, or let her be. It's a heavy consequence for chasing foresight.
Wow, okay. Anything else on the emotional front with companions?
A slightly more poignant detail. Every single companion has a unique line of dialogue or reaction if you take them back to Vault 111, specifically to the cryopod containing your dead spouse.
They all react differently to seeing that.
All the humanoids do, yeah. They comment on the tragedy, the technology, your loss. It's quite touching, actually. You can also interact with the spouse's body to retrieve their wedding ring.
Who doesn't react?
Sources note that Strong, the super mutant companion, is one of the only ones who has basically no reaction at all.
Figures. Probably just sees frozen meat.
Maybe he asks you can eat that. Okay, moving on to some more obscure gameplay mechanics, just little things you might have missed. Fact 27, obscure F4 gameplay mechanics.
Little tips and tricks. Lay 'em on me.
All right, first one. Right at the very beginning, when you're stuck in the cryopod watching the unpleasantness with your spouse and Sean.
Yeah, helpless moment.
You can actually do something. If you keep hitting the interact button, your character will slam their fists against the glass of the pod.
Does it do anything? Change anything?
Nope, absolutely nothing. But it's a small way to express that impotent rage and frustration Cathartic, maybe?
Okay. Useless but noted. What else?
Loading screens. You know how they show a 3D model of an item or creature? You can spin it around, use the mouse or joystick, or I think the reload button on keyboard. You can rotate and examine the model while the game loads.
Huh. Never knew that.
Yeah.
Anything actually useful?
Yes. VATS. It's not just for shooting enemies. You can use VATS to detect hidden mines on the ground. They'll show up as targets.
Oh, that's handy. Save stepping on them.
And even better, you can use VATS to shoot grenades out of the air. Someone throws one at you. Hit VATS quickly, target the grenade, and you might be able to detonate it safely away from you.
Shoot grenades mid-air. That's awesome.
Huh?
Requires good reflexes and AP, I bet.
Definitely. But it's a lifesaver when it works.
Cool. What's next? More mechanics.
2 more quick ones related to gear and the environment. Fact 28. Power armor, pickpocket, and location resets.
Power armor pickpocketing. How does that work?
It's brilliant. If you sneak up successfully behind an enemy who is wearing power armor, you can attempt to pickpocket their fusion core right out of the back of the suit.
The power source. What happens if you get it?
The suit instantly powers down and the enemy is forced to climb out, leaving the power armor frame completely empty and undefended.
So you can steal their core and then just take their armor. Or just shoot them easily now they're exposed.
Exactly. It's a high-risk, high-reward stealth maneuver. The ultimate way to neutralize a heavily armored foe without a direct fight.
Love it. Okay, and location resets.
Yeah, this is important for long-term play and farming resources. Any location you clear out, kill all the enemies, loot everything if it's not one of your designated settlements.
Yeah.
It will eventually reset, the enemies will respawn, the containers will refill with loot.
How long does that take?
The standard timer is 30 in-game days. If you're playing on survival mode, it takes longer, encouraging you to explore more widely, but it means you can always go back to your favorite dungeons later for more action and supplies.
Good to know. Means the world doesn't just stay empty.
Yeah.
Okay, last fact. Sounds like this one's a bit problematic. Fact 29. Buggy Tier 4 traders.
Ah, yes. Tier 4 merchants. A great idea on paper, incredibly frustrating in practice.
What are they?
So you can build stores in your settlements, right? Tier 1, 2, 3. Well, there are special, unique merchants out in the Wasteland Tier 4 merchants who you can recruit to work at your Tier 3 stores.
And they're better than regular settlers.
Much better. They have unique inventories, often sell legendary items, and just generally offer higher quality goods. People like the Scribe Armor, Smiling Larry Weapons, Doc Anderson Medical, Ron Staples, Food Drink.
Sounds great. What's the catch?
Finding and recruiting them is a nightmare. A few, like the Vault Tech rep you meet early on, or Anne Hargraves, are in fixed locations and usually work fine. But most of the really good ones, they only appear through random encounters.
Random encounters, so you just have to wander around and hope you stumble into them.
Pretty much, and that's not even the worst part. The system is notoriously buggy.
Buggy how?
They might not spawn correctly, or you'll recruit them, send them to a settlement, and they just never arrive. Or they arrive, but their special Tier 4 inventory never activates, so they just act like a regular Tier 3 vendor. Or they work for a while and then just vanish.
Oh, come on. That sounds infuriating.
It really is. For many players, especially on console without access to commands to force spawn them, successfully getting a full set of working Tier 4 merchants is almost impossible. It's a classic example of a really cool deep settlement feature that was just fundamentally broken by bugs. Finding a perfectly preserved pie in a machine feels more likely sometimes.
Wow, okay. That's quite a list we just went through. My head is spinning a little. We covered so much ground.
We really did. From talking mole rats, plotting world domination and centipedes using sign language,
All the way to Vault-Tec University teaching cannibalism cooking classes, and the fact that the iconic Vault Boy thumbs up is just a misunderstood gesture.
It really shows how layered and frankly bizarre the Fallout universe is when you start digging into the corners. These aren't just surface details. They reveal the deep cynicism, the dark humor, and the pervasive weirdness that defines the setting.
Yeah, it forces you to constantly reevaluate, doesn't it? Questioning what's real, what's a synth, what's a government lie, what's an actual ghost, and what's just a fan theory that got out of hand.
Exactly. The lore hidden in the terminals, the environmental clues, the buggy mechanics even. They often tell you more about the true nature of the world than the main storylines do.
And I think this deep dive proves that even if you play these games for hundreds of hours, there are still these incredible, strange secrets waiting to be found. You just need to look closely.
It's not just a world recovering from nuclear war. It's a world built on systems, corporate, political, scientific, that were practically designed to implode in the most spectacular, often horrifyingly absurd ways.
Right. So maybe let's leave everyone with a final thought, something to mull over.
Okay, so remember how we mentioned the early game manuals for Fallout 1 and Fallout 3? They used a specific phrase to describe the game experience. They called it a wasteland simulation.
A simulation. Interesting choice of words.
Isn't it? Now, consider everything we just talked about. The sheer scale of Vault-Tec's cynicism and their bizarre social experiments. The hints of literal cosmic gods and ghosts interacting with the world. The synths, the talking animals, the pervasive paranoia.
Where are you going with this?
What if the term wasteland simulation wasn't just marketing speak? What if the ultimate, darkest fun fact of the Fallout universe is that the entire post-war world is the simulation? Vault-Tec's final, grandest experiment, still running long after the bombs fell, just to see what happens when you throw humanity into this blender of horror, absurdity, and impossible choices.
Wow. The whole thing is one giant vault experiment. That's a properly bleak thought to end on.
It fits, doesn't it, given everything we know? So the question for you, the listener, is, if you start looking at the wasteland through that lens, what other unsettling facts might you uncover hidden just beneath the surface?